Every year, tens of thousands of people leave New York. Not just the city, the suburbs, Long Island, Westchester, the Hudson Valley. And a significant chunk of them don't go to Florida or Texas. They come here, to New England. Today, we're breaking down the data, exactly where New Yorkers are landing, why they're choosing specific towns over others, and what it's doing to the housing markets they move into. If you live in New England and wonder why prices in your town have jumped, this video is the answer. Let's start with scale, because most people underestimate how large this migration actually is. According to IRS migration data and U.S. Census Bureau estimates, New York State loses more residents to outmigration than almost any other state in the country. And New England, specifically Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire, consistently ranks among the top destinations. In 2023 alone, net migration from New York into New England ran into the tens of thousands of households. These aren't vacation buyers. These are people changing their permanent address, enrolling kids in new schools, and driving up demand in markets that weren't built for this volume. The question isn't whether New Yorkers are moving here. The question is, where exactly are they going, and why? Let's go state by state through New England and look at where the data actually points. Connecticut. The closest landing zone, Connecticut, is the most obvious destination, and the data backs it up completely. Fairfield County has been absorbing New York migration for decades, but the pandemic turbocharged it. Towns like Greenwich, Westport, Darien, New Canaan, and Ridgefield saw bidding wars and price spikes that would have felt more at home in Manhattan. The draw is straightforward. You're still commutable to Midtown via Metro North in under an hour, but you can get a 4-bedroom colonial with a yard for what a 2-bedroom co-op costs in Brooklyn. The catch? Connecticut's property taxes are among the highest in the country, and the state's fiscal situation has kept some buyers cautious. But for remote workers and hybrid commuters, Fairfield County remains the #1 New York escape valve in New England. Beyond Fairfield County, New Haven and Hartford are also absorbing New York migration, particularly younger buyers priced out of even the Connecticut suburbs, who are looking at cities with lower price points and improving neighborhoods. Massachusetts. The Boston pull versus the New York push. Massachusetts is where it gets interesting because the migration flows are more complex. The Boston job market pulls people from everywhere, including New York. Tech, biotech, finance, and healthcare all drive relocation into Greater Boston. But pure New York escapees, people leaving the city for lifestyle and affordability reasons, tend to look at specific corridors. The Metro West region, towns like Framingham, Natick, Hopkinton, and Milford, have seen consistent demand from New York transplants who want access to both Boston and a lower cost base. The South Shore, towns like Hingham, Duxbury, and Marshfield are getting serious attention from New York buyers who want coastal lifestyle without the Hamptons price tag. And perhaps, most surprisingly, Western Massachusetts. The Pioneer Valley, including Northampton, East Hampton, and Amherst, is pulling remote work New Yorkers who want the aesthetics of Vermont, but the slightly lower cost structure of Massachusetts. New Hampshire. The tax-motivated move. New Hampshire is the most strategically motivated destination on this list. No income tax, no sales tax, lower home prices than Massachusetts or Connecticut, and for remote workers, no reason to be tethered to a commute zone. The towns drawing the most New York migration in New Hampshire are concentrated in the southern tier: Windham, Bedford, Londonderry, Salem, and Derry. These towns offer good schools, low taxes, and a quality of life that's genuinely hard to beat at the price point. Windham in particular has become something of a phenomenon, a town that barely existed on the radar 15 years ago, and now has median home prices pushing $600,000 because of sustained demand from exactly this migration wave. The trade-off. You're 2 to 3 hours from Manhattan, so this is truly a remote work or full relocation play. But for families running the full financial math, New Hampshire often wins on a 10-year cost of ownership basis against any comparable town in Connecticut or Massachusetts. Maine. The lifestyle migration Maine is pulling a specific type of New Yorker, and the data is consistent on this. Portland, Maine has become one of the fastest-growing small cities in the Northeast, driven in large part by New York and Boston transplants seeking a creative coastal lifestyle at a fraction of the price. The Old Port District, the vibrant restaurant scene, the proximity to ski mountains and coastline. Portland checks boxes that used to require either Vermont or a much larger budget. Kennebunkport, Scarborough, and Falmouth are also seeing strong New York buyer interest, particularly from buyers who've already cashed out of the New York real estate market and are bringing equity with them. The challenge for Maine is inventory. Portland's housing stock is genuinely limited, and the influx of equity-rich buyers from New York and Boston has pushed prices faster than local incomes can sustain. It's creating real affordability tension for people who grew up there. Vermont. The idealist's choice. Vermont attracts a very specific New York buyer, one who has decided that the aesthetics and values of Vermont are worth the financial premium. Burlington has seen meaningful migration from New York's creative and progressive communities. Woodstock, Manchester, and the ski-adjacent towns continue to draw second home and full relocation buyers. But Vermont is arguably the most expensive state in New England when you factor in the full tax picture. Income tax, property tax, and a cost of living that doesn't always match the salary infrastructure outside Burlington. It's a beautiful place to live. The migration data just suggests it's more selective than the other states on this list. Rhode Island, the underrated option. Rhode Island doesn't get nearly enough credit in the New York migration conversation. Providence is a legitimate mid-sized city with a real food scene, a growing tech and healthcare sector anchored by Brown and Riest, and home prices that still undercut Boston and even parts of Connecticut. Newport continues to attract high-net-worth New York buyers looking for a coastal trophy property. And the East Bay towns, Bristol, Warren, Barrington, are increasingly on the radar of New York families who want walkable, coastal character without the Fairfield County premium. Watch Rhode Island closely. It's one of the more undervalued markets in the region for the next 5 years. Here's what this migration wave actually means if you already live in New England. In every town we've discussed, the pattern is the same. When New York buyers enter a market at scale, they arrive with more equity, larger down payments, and a higher pain tolerance for price because they're comparing everything to New York costs. A $550,000 home in Windham, New Hampshire feels like a bargain to someone coming from a $1.1 million Brooklyn brownstone. That psychology is what's driving the bidding wars. For longtime New England residents, this has created a genuine affordability crisis in specific towns. First-time buyers competing against equity-flush New Yorkers is a structural disadvantage that's showing up in the data. Falling homeownership rates among under 40 residents in the highest demand towns. But for homeowners in those same markets, it's created significant wealth appreciation. The towns that captured this migration early, Windham, Portland, Fairfield County suburbs, have seen appreciation rates that consistently outpace national averages. The New York migration into New England isn't a trend. It's a structural shift driven by remote work, tax policy, and a fundamental reevaluation of what quality of life actually costs. The towns that position themselves well, good schools, low taxes, commuter access, or strong remote work infrastructure, have won this migration wave decisively. In our next video, we're breaking down which specific New England towns offer the best value right now for buyers, using home price, tax rate, school quality, and job access data side by side. If you found this useful, subscribe to Northeast Intelligence. We publish new data breakdowns every week. Drop your state or town in the comments. We read every one and use your questions to guide future videos. Northeast Intelligence, data, migration, housing.